Ladies and gentlemen, today we're diving into a chess masterpiece played by none other than the legendary Mikhail, also known as the Magician of Riga. Now, if you don't know who he is, let me introduce you. So, Mikhail was one of the most electrifying players in all of chess history. He was known for his aggressive, dynamic, and attacking style. His opponents feared not only his moves, but also his piercing, almost hypnotic stare. In 1960, at just 23 years of age, Tal became the youngest world chess champion ever. Tal once famously said that you must take your opponent into a deep dark forest where 2 plus 2 equals 5 and the path leading out is only wide enough for one. And that, my friends, is exactly what he did in his legendary game against Beer Prager. So the game opens up with d4, we get knight f6, c4, and nowadays most players do opt for e6 followed by d5, transposing into a Queen's Gambit declined or bishop b4 with an Imzo Indian, but Tal played c5. I have also employed this system a couple of times. Black just wants to challenge white's center immediately. We do get d5 and e6. So this is called the Benoni defense. We get knight c3, ed, cd, d6, e4. So white is just gaining space in the center. We get g6. Black just wants to develop his bishop on that long diagonal. Knight f3, bishop g7, bishop d3. Yeah, nowadays most players would probably opt for a move like h3 here, um, preventing this move bishop g4. But we do get bishop d3 in this game, as this game has been played in 1953, so quite a while ago. We get short castle, and again, yeah, here h3 would be played, after which b5 can be played here, and wild complications arise, but we do get short castle. So yeah, nowadays most players would play bishop g4 here, because black here has a little bit less space, um, and so he would like to trade this bishop off and then play for a6 and b5. Yeah, so Tal plays knight a6 here. Um, and it's a bit of a strange move, so what he's trying to do is he's trying to put this knight on c7 to prepare a6 and b5 because he wants to expand on the queen side, um, so he can counterbalance this strong center by white. Now um, we get here knight d2, and here he plays knight b4, so he doesn't even play knight c7 at all. Now he just wants to gain a tempo on this bishop, um, but knight c7 would have also been interesting. Uh, so yeah, that is why he played that knight a6 move. Bit of a strange move, putting knight on the rim, but in this case it makes sense. So we get knight b4, he attacks the bishop, but probably it's the knight on b4 is going to get hit with a3 very soon, so it is a bit strange, but okay. Rook e8, he develops his rook, attacking the center. a3, yeah, there it is, knight a6. Rook e1, knight c7. So now he is going for the former plan with a6 and b5. So queen c2. Now, basically, white's ideal setup is to put a knight on c4, maybe a bishop on d3, a bishop on f4, to put pressure on this pawn. So first he has to guard the e4 pawn, because if you were to play like something like knight c4, obviously you can take this pawn, because it's guarded by the rook. So queen c2, rook b8, so he wants to play b5, a4, yeah, so white prevents it, and now here, um, yeah, he plays a very logical plan, but I think I would have opted for a6. So here after a6, which is not played in the game by the way, but would have definitely been interesting, we could have gotten something like a5, because now black is definitely threatening this b5 move. And then white cannot put his knight on c4 anymore and cannot achieve this bishop f4 and knight c4 setup to pressure the d6 pawn. So probably a5 would have been played to prevent this b5 from happening. Because then you could take and go knight c4 and bishop f4, right? But here actually you have a very interesting option of bishop d7 to try to trade a piece with knight b5. Because like I mentioned earlier, trading a piece is definitely good for black here. in this structure as he has less space, but strategically a quite desirable pawn structure. But okay, um, yeah, so Tal here, instead of opting for a6, he does play b6. And he has a sort of similar plan in mind that if white were to play, uh, yeah, knight c4 here, then bishop a6 would be played, and he would try to take this this knight, yeah. And then he wants to go for a6, maybe put his queen to b7 and play b5, something like that. But here Bragger plays a bit of a, yeah, hit at emptiness, bit of a strange move. He plays knight b5. So as I just mentioned, trading a piece is actually quite beneficial here for black. So yeah, I guess I don't really know what the point of this move was because okay, let's say if Tal were to take, now of course white's got the rook opened, and yeah, I suppose he could try something like bishop d3, bishop f4, even though probably after like rook b7, rook e7, it's still interesting here. But um, after b6, knight b5, Tal just plays a6, yeah. So he takes the knight, doesn't allow this change of pawn structure after which the rook gets opened. And now white is, yeah, I mean, if he goes back, this entire operation doesn't make sense. So he's more or less forced to take on c7 now. And now black has basically achieved everything he wants. So he can get b5 at any moment. And he has a very strong unopposed bishop. White hasn't really gotten any of this knight c4, bishop f4 business. So yeah, black is definitely celebrating his position right now. So we get rook a2. Now this also seems like a bit of a weird move, but essentially what he's trying to do is Bragger is just trying to play b3 and bishop b2. But right now that would run into knight takes d5, attacking the rook. So therefore he first plays rook a2. So that if he would get like an extra move, let's say he just plays king h8. Now he could play b3 and bishop b2, and white is better. Okay. So we do get queen e7 here. He's attacking the e4 pawn now because the queen, yeah, is lined up against it. So we do get queen e4. And yeah, now he plays a, yeah, a bit of a weird move. I guess, yeah, he was just trying to save his pawn, but yeah, at this point he he can't really do this. He should really opt for just, um, yeah, sacrificing this pawn because on e4. Because after the move f3, which happened in the game, we get knight h5, and now you can see this monster bishop gets access to this diagonal. And I mean, like let's say white plays like a normal move, we get check here, and queen h4, the rook is hanging, and knight g3. Sorry, knight g3 is coming, after which it will be checkmate already. So this f3 move is very dangerous. Yeah, instead he could have maybe played something like b3. I mean, although it's very, yeah, engine-ish, and maybe he could hope here to get some sort of, yeah, counterplay by bishop d3. But okay, he does go f3, and we get knight h5, like I said. So Tal takes advantage of these weak dark squares. Now here he plays knight f1 to prevent this entire bishop d4, queen h4 business that we just saw. And now, yeah, Tal plays f5, so he just wants to target white's center. Now, because, yeah, otherwise white can sort of consolidate his position, but all of white's pieces are a bit weirdly placed. Yeah, these pieces don't really contribute to, let's say, this rectangle. So therefore, yeah, Tal plays f5. He strikes the center. Now, if white were to take this, Tal would simply check, play bishop f5, attacking the queen, and then bishop f2, and the rook is hanging and is trapped. And yeah, this bishop is hanging. I mean, this is completely lost. So instead of that, we do get the move bishop d3. So yeah, instead of taking, he's guarding, trying to hold on for dear life. And now this move f4. So what Tal is trying to do is he's trying to take away, first of all, this square for the bishop, right? Because if he were to play bishop d4 check, maybe a move like, yeah, bishop e3 could be considered. Yeah, black is still much, much better, but now at least this monster bishop gets traded. But after f4, yeah, this bishop is locked behind his pieces, I guess, and bishop d4 is coming. So yeah, sorry about that. But now white really feels the sense of urgency here, because if he plays, yeah, any other move, you just get hit with bishop d4 and queen h4, and this is not gonna end well. Because, like, let's say you play something like this, you could just get hit with, actually there's also a rook hanging. So let's say you guard the rook, you get hit with this, and this monster bishop on c8 sacrifices itself, after which there's a checkmate. So of course this wouldn't happen, and Braga decides to play g4. Now, this move more or less, I guess, yeah, it helps the queen to protect some of these squares. So it's definitely one of the better moves, even though, as you can see, yeah, the evil bar really doesn't like any of this. We get check, king h1, and now, instead of retreating the knight, Tal plays queen h4. This in and of itself isn't really crazy at all. He's just attacking this rook with tempo. So we do get rook e2. And now he plays queen h3 first of all. He's attacking this knight. So the engine actually sees a very interesting variation here. You can actually sack your bishop like this. it's crazy. Now white obviously has to take, because otherwise you just get in. So he takes f3, and now basically black is attacking this rook. Therefore, let's say he does move it to e3. Now black takes, and now he has a very simple but deadly threat. So let's say white plays some null move again, like rook a1. Not saying this is a good move at all, but now I think this move can be played. Oh wait, I'm actually wrong here, because I thought this check. Now if white were to take it like this, you can take this, but he can in fact take by the king, so I'm actually wrong here. But okay, yeah, so a move like rook f8 is actually preferred here, just to retain the attack, you know, double up, stuff like that. So here, yeah, black is winning, yeah, because even though he has an extra piece, this coordination is completely busted. So this was preferred by the engine, but yeah, it's pretty difficult to see all of this. So Tal instead opts for queen h3, and so he's attacking this knight. So, like, if he takes, obviously this is checkmate. So Braga plays rook g2. He, yeah, stops him from taking this knight, I guess. And now Tal starts his madness, I suppose. He, instead of retreating the knight to square like f6, opting for something like knight d7 to e5, yeah, to attack this pawn, maybe get the h pawn involved, something like this. He takes this pawn. Now, if white were to accept the piece sacrifice, because obviously, yeah, it's a sacrifice, yeah, because this is hanging, he would actually just get completely destroyed, because here he can sacrifice his rook. And now if he takes, first of all, it's again checkmate like this. And he just wants to get in. And also there's bishop h3. So again, yeah, even though white is up this bishop, or yeah, actually this knight, if you think about it, but okay. The pieces are really coordinated very weirdly. This rook on a2 is doing nothing, and yeah, so even though he's down a piece, he has sufficient compensation. But okay, Braga sees this and opts for the move knight d2. So he's attacking the queen. Tal decides to repeat once, to just get closer to the time control, I guess. And now here, instead of going for a variation like queen e3, knight f1, or then maybe queen e1 here to, yeah, keep the attack, and again go for something like queen h4 and f3. Tal does something crazy. You see, Tal didn't really want to move his queen at all, in fact. Here, I mean, we just have to retain the mystery of the game, so we do have to remove this eval bar here, but here he does play bishop takes g4, and he sacrifices his queen. Now, to some of you, this may look like Tal smoked a little bit too much, and none of this makes any sense, because, well, Braga accepts, and Tal is just down a full queen. Now, when Tal did this, he had one very specific thought in mind. He wanted to just place his rook on e5, check. Now, since this is pinned, he would be forced to take with the pawn, and then rook h5 would be checkmate. So, therefore, to prevent this from happening, Braga plays h4. So Tal is just down a full queen at this point. I mean, when I first saw this, I couldn't remotely believe this had happened, but it did in fact happen. Now, since h4 is played, this entire rook e5 plan doesn't work anymore, because then, yeah, after a move like, let's say like knight g3, now the king gets an extra square here, so there's no checkmate here, it's not gonna happen. So instead of this, Tal plays rook f8. Yeah, so he sees the rook had no sort of purpose on the e-file, so he puts it on f8. And he just wants to push this pawn and wreak havoc on white's position. So now here, something very strange happens, in fact. Now, a move like b3 would have been very good. And now here, I have no idea what Tal wanted to play. I mean, like, white is just trying to untangle, get his bishop out, because he is off a queen after all. So now the engine gives this variation. So he bring his rook. He try to trade pieces, obviously. Take. So okay, at least he gets back some material. And here white does retain a very big advantage, and it may seem like he's completely winning, but this is actually not the case due to this passed f-pawn. So black actually gets some chances here. But white is much better here, make no mistake. Now, instead of a move like b3 happening, I think Braga was so absolutely flabbergasted and shocked at this entire bishop takes g4 move that he did in fact proceed to play bishop e2. A huge, huge blunder. Now, why is this a blunder? So, he goes on, he plays knight g3, king h2, because still he can't move here because of this bishop, and he can't take because then he would hang his king. So get knight g3, king h2, and Tal simply takes the rook. Now, Braga is sort of, yeah, semi-forced to take this bishop, because, yeah, otherwise Tal can just walk up with his pawn like this. So we do get the move king g2. Now Tal proceeds to take the knight. And again, yeah, a move like rook a3 would have been a bit more resilient here. So yeah, even though white is in fact lost there, he could have held on for a little longer. Now here, black's compensation is a little more abstract, so I guess he would probably continue by taking here, and then maybe opting for a move like b5, and really trying to make the most of his past f-pawn. Yeah, so this would have been a little bit more resilient. But we do in fact get the move queen takes e2. Now we get f3 by Tal. He forks the pieces. Take, check here. So yeah, I guess if he goes here, there's a check, and this pawn is lost. So he goes here, check, and bishop f4. Now, this is actually where the game ends, and this may seem a little abrupt to some of you, but why does it end? So let's say, first of all, this bishop is hanging, So, and if he were to take, then rook takes would happen, and I mean all of his pawns are hanging. Yeah, and Tal has an extra pawn. So, and since these players are very high level, of course, they didn't feel the need to, yeah, play this on for any longer. So this is where the game ends. Now, if you did like this video, yeah, like it, I guess. um, and please let me know what games I should cover next. And if you guys do have any suggestions, please do leave them in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.